Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour, mesdames and messieurs. Welcome to this conference on accelerating business success through no-code innovation. I am Malay Parekh, CEO of Unico Connect, and I'm very excited to be here at the second edition of the No-Code Summit. It's my first time here, but really looking forward to everybody, the entire no-code community, coming together, platforms, developers, all stakeholders. So really excited to be here. So before we get into today's presentation, I would just like to take a moment and introduce myself in more detail. So my name is Malay Parekh. I come with over 13 years of experience. I serve as the CEO of Unico Connect. And I consider myself to be a tech enthusiast, right? Coming from an era where I worked on Pentium machines, Netscape browsers, Yahoo, floppy disk, Windows 95, right, back from the 90s. So tech was something that I always wanted to do. So I got my engineering degree from Mumbai. I went on to do my master's in California at University of Southern California. And when I was there, I had the privilege to be part of the journey when Apple actually launched the iPhone, and they opened up the iOS SDK, and launched the App Store back in 2008. And I got an opportunity to work as an iOS developer. So that's where my coding journey started. After that, I had the privilege of working with a startup in Los Angeles, building education applications for universities. And after that, I joined a French IT company, Capgemini, working, in their application management outsourcing practice, delivering projects for, some of the biggest customers across the globe, such as Levi Strauss, ENZ Bank, T-Mobile, and many others. So across a lot of different industries, right? So that's where I also got my global exposure, right? Working with overseas customers, and yeah, so that's been my journey. And entrepreneurship is something that always excited me, and I wanted to, try my hands out at that. So that's when I actually started a mobile first development agency in Mumbai, building applications for some top industries, top retail businesses in India, right? So, and we used to build native iOS apps, Android applications, web applications for them. So that's how my journey started. Today's agenda, I would like to quickly introduce Unico Connect, the agency that I represent, talk about the relevance of no-code for businesses and its advantages, how no-code can become a driver of business growth, right, for businesses, obviously looking to innovate. And finally, I would like to walk through some real-world business use cases of no-code solutions that we've actually implemented for our customers. So that's Unico Connect as a glance. Unico Connect is an agency, a no-code agency that specializes in building customized solutions using no-code platforms. We've been around for 10 years. We've built more than 30 no-code products. We've delivered over 100 plus applications, and we've got 200 plus happy customers. So we specialize in no-code development, mobile application, web applications, UI, UX, and product design. So that's the services that we offer. So Unico Connect, 10 years back, obviously we had some platforms back then, but our focus was on using traditional platforms. So we used Laravel, Node on the back end. We had React, Angular, HTML on the front end, native applications for mobile, and then of course later on we had React Native and Flutter. Over the past 3 years, we've gradually moved focus to no-code, low-code solutions, right? And our preferred tools are Xano, Airtable, Zapier, Wiz, WeWeb, Webflow, Bubble. We also do a Shopify and WordPress development, which are no-code platforms. And on the mobile side, we work with Flutterflow, Adalo, Bravo Studio. So as an agency, we have capabilities with all of these platforms. Our expertise. So over the years, we built a lot of applications. We build SaaS products, enterprise applications, mobile apps, web applications, social applications, marketing website, e-commerce applications, right? Across different industries of different sizes, different scales. In terms of domains, we've worked with education, we worked with finance, so specifically, payments applications, insurance applications. We worked with travel and hospitality. That also includes property management, operations, healthcare and wellness. That also covers pharmaceutical. Then we built social and entertainment applications where we've also created something, ticket booking platform, right? Something similar to Ticketmaster for a customer. And then we've also built applications in e-commerce. So that's the kind of expertise that we possess as an agency. Right, so now I would like to get into relevance of no-code for businesses and what are the advantages it offers. So what is no-code? I'm sure everybody here knows what no-code is. No-code is essentially a visual way of building applications. And it comes with a lot of pre-built templates, components, like a drag and drop interface, which we can use to build things out really fast. I actually have a question for all of you, right? Does anyone know what was the first no-code tool? Any guesses? No one? So interestingly, it was Microsoft Excel back in 1985. And they came out with their first application built for the Macintosh, right? And the Windows application came 2 years later. And Excel essentially provided a visual way to work with your data, manipulate data, create representations, right, without actually writing code. So Microsoft Excel back in 1985. Then we had Microsoft Access in 1992 that became really popular, right? It provided a way to actually create databases, forms, through a visual interface, without writing code. So you could create small applications, allowing you to do these kind of things. So, and of course, over the years, we had Salesforce back in 2000. We had WordPress that came out in 2003. We had Shopify in 2006. 2012, we saw Airtable and Webflow, all coming in. And then, of course, we've had a lot of platforms that have come in over the past, many years. So no-code has revolutionized the way we create products, right? Which is why it is really a game changer. With the capabilities that it offers, right? Integrations with a lot of different other platforms, pre-built components, the potential is truly limitless. There's practically most use cases that you can actually handle with no-code, right? So there is a growing momentum, which I'll talk about in the next slide with some actual facts and figures, that no-code is really relevant for building applications these days. And finally, it also helps to bridge the gap between developers and users, right? Business users are also able to use these platforms to create something, right? You don't actually require developers to do that. So some facts and figures. So all of these have been referenced through Gartner. In 2023 alone, right, the enterprise software expenditure is expected to be $856 billion. Right? By 2024, no code, would represent 65% of, all apps that would be developed. So that's huge, right? By 2025, it is expected that 70% of businesses will be building their applications using no code. And if you look at the graph here, right, the market revenue for no code industries. So 2022, it was like $22.5 billion, and then, through the years, over the course of 5 years, if you see, it's really exponentially growing, right? With $85 billion in 2027. And by 2030, it's expected to be $187 billion. So, that's a massive market, and no code is definitely going to be the way to go. What are the key advantages that no code offers? It's ease of use, right? Through a visual interface, it's very simple for anybody to understand how the layout looks, drag and drop, and create that without any coding expertise. Speed and agility, right? Just because you're able to build things out faster, you're able to turn around things, go to market faster, so offers that speed and agility, which is most important for businesses, right? Cost savings, because you're able to utilize resources in a better way, right? A lot of business users are also able to work on no-code platforms, which means in the longer run, you can expect cost savings. Customization and scalability, right? So a lot of platforms have the option to, also provide enterprise plans, which allow you to scale further. Security and compliance, these are usually managed by the platform, right? All the standards such as GDPR, HIPAA, SOC 2, these are usually covered by most of the platforms, right? With data security measures as well, so that helps. And you're obviously able to automate your workflows, boosting productivity. So overall, the efficiency increases, which also in turn, results in cost savings. So here, as part of this topic, I would like to take you through 5 key drivers that can contribute to business growth, and how no code can actually help versus the traditional way of building things. So like I mentioned, accelerated application development. So with the traditional approach, development times are pretty long. After you spend time in planning and designing, right? You also need specific skill sets, dedicated resources to work on the different technology stacks, right? That becomes a challenge. With no code, you're able to build things in a visual way. Business users are able to also use these platforms and tools, so that really aids to building things out faster. A lot of debugging is actually provided within the platform, so that makes it more convenient as well for users, and overall it provides more agility. So consider a use case, right, where you need to create maybe some reports and dashboards, right? If you had to build this in the traditional way, you obviously need to create all the charts, consolidate your data, and get all of those things together. Using a tool like Retool, we've actually been able to create dashboards really quickly, right? Even a project manager, with some help from developers and just plugging in, linking the database, we can create those dashboards and reports really quickly. So the traditional approach, because you require a lot of different skill sets, a lot of dedicated resources, which increases the overall development cost. Maintenance is always a challenge, because you need to constantly upgrade your platforms and do things. Uh, Infrastructure, managing the infrastructure is also an overhead, which leads to higher cost of development. With no code, maintenance is managed by the platform, so that reduces your cost because you're able to optimize your resources. The cost of development goes down. Uh, Business users, right, non-technical users are able to actually create applications using these platforms. And another important factor here is also compliance, right? Doing compliance manually usually takes a lot of effort and time. It requires audits to be done, and with no-code platforms offering compliance out of the box, you can actually manage to save costs there as well. So I would like to talk about this example, right? For Xano, which is a no-code based backend platform, right? The scale 4x plan that it offers, right, also comes with HIPAA compliance. So we worked with a publicly listed company where we were able to create a POC in like a 2 weeks time frame, and then over a 4 weeks time frame, we would actually get something live to production with the compliance in place, right? So it's that quick, and that's the kind of benefit that it offers. Workflows and process automation. So I think this is really important for businesses. With the traditional approach, right, you require to manually define your workflows and processes, incorporate, all the automation workflows. Uh, with manual effort, it's always prone to errors, human errors, which can in fact lead to bottlenecks. So that becomes a challenge with the traditional approach. With no-code platforms, triggers and actions can be defined pretty seamlessly through a visual process. It reduces inefficiencies and minimizes, the chances for errors. It also, allows you to track things in real time. So that's how, no-code approach provides a benefit, with automating your work processes. So here I would like to talk about a use case that we built for a bulk payments provider, where we've used a combination of Xano and VWeb. So earlier, what this company used to do, right? They used to manually process their information through Excel sheets, and they required a large operations team, right? And there were issues in payments getting failed, and they had to manually track all of those things and retry. What we were able to do was bring a structured approach, where we created different views and workflows depending on the state of the payment. We were able to scale this from 1,000 transactions to 50,000 transactions. So that's how automating this entire process really benefited this payments platform. Data insights and reporting. So with the traditional approach, right, as businesses start to scale, there is data stored in a lot of different systems, right? Typically, CXO level people, they require reports at a group level, where they need consolidated views. And usually, there are a lot of different business units, where you need to find this information from, right? So it becomes a challenge, it becomes tedious. You need different teams to, work together and, create those reports. With no code, reporting can be simplified further. Project managers can, consolidate all of this information. Right, it reduces the dependency on multiple teams. I would like to talk about a use case, right, for a school application, where attendance is stored in a third-party system. They also have integration with the LMS system. Through a visualization tool, right, we were able to create dashboards very quickly. And for data transformation, we were able to use Xano. So that really simplified, provided a central way to store all the information and access that data and create reports. So data insights is another area where no code excels. data protection and compliance. So like I was mentioning earlier, there are a lot of compliance standards such as GDPR, HIPAA, SOC 2, VAPT testing that requires a lot of checks to be made manually. And these are important because if this leads to compliance breaches, there's obviously impact on the businesses. And doing this manually requires a lot of time. Audits can be tedious. You require a dedicated team to manage all of these things. So with no-code platforms, all of this comes out of the box. With configuring all of these things, the overall data protection compliances are streamlined. Next up, I would like to talk about some real-world use cases that we've implemented. But before that, I'll probably just take a pause if anybody has any questions so far. For GDPR? Yes. So I'll take the example of Xano, right?
I think it's
So
really
Xano comes with GDPR.
it's really important for the other people to listen the question.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I was asking if you could tell us more about the use case regarding the GDPR compliant automation procedures.
Right. So for GDPR, obviously protecting user data and how it is accessed and used by the business becomes really important. And if you have to, obviously do this with the traditional approach, you need to incorporate those measures and, define those workflows to, protect data, restrict data access, by different roles. With a platform like Xano, right, which comes with the GDPR compliance built in, it's already covered by the platform. So you don't need to, do any, incorporate any additional measures, right? So that saves you a lot of time and effort in getting that set up. So that's just one example of, a platform providing that compliance, but, there are a lot of other platforms which also provide that.
So it's not about a tool that you have developed for your clients.
Sorry, could you repeat?
Sorry, I thought that you had developed a solution for your clients.
Yes, so
which was an automation of their procedures regarding GDPR compliance. But
yes. So the customer, their backend system is built on Xano, and Xano, because it provides GDPR compliance, they are already covered by that. Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. So here I would like to talk about a tool that we've developed for a school. So this school is based in California, and it is not a regular school. It's a charter school which caters to immigrant population, right? People who are not fluent with English, who have challenges in understanding English. And what we've built here is a system called Chat Buddy, which is integrated in the mobile application. So it actually allows users, essentially students, to speak in their native languages, and then it converts it to English. So we're using a combination of tools here with OpenAI APIs, ChatGPT, Whisper, natural language processing. And what the tool also does is it gives them the translation. It also tells them whether what they've spoken is actually correct or not, right? So it gives them corrections of grammar, of language, and all of this is highlighted, in different colors, right? To tell them how, what are the words that they've actually spoken correctly, and what are the words, where obviously they need to make changes. So that's a tool that we developed. It supports 8 to 10 different languages, from Russian, Ukrainian, Farsi, Spanish, and that's really helping students, right? There's also an option where you can actually play the voiceover, right? In your native language as well as in English, you can adjust the playback speeds so that people can understand in a better way. So this is already live in an application which is being used by 14,000 students. A little bit more about the components that we're using here. So the application is called Highlands Brain. Chat Buddy is the name of the system. We're using a service called Stream Chat, which allows staff and students to communicate. So it's a chat-based platform, which is integrated with Xano on the backend side, and then Xano is then integrated with ChatGPT and Whisper. Additionally, now within this application, we're also planning to implement voice cloning, so where you can actually hear somebody else's voice in for a particular sentence that you've spoken. So that's something that is the next step here. The second use case that I want to cover is a bulk payments platform. So this is like an architecture of that we've created. So if you see, it's a microservice-based architecture that we've achieved with NoCode. Right, we've got 2 instances of Xano, and earlier, this provider used to process payments manually, through Excel sheets. Now, all of this happens through the system. On the front end, we've got an admin application built in Retool. We've got a client application built in VWeb. It's connected with this utility called CSV Box. We've got documents, the Excel files all getting stored in Google Cloud Storage. We've got some components in between, for authentication, so Auth0. We've got API gateways and firewalls that have been configured in GCP, which obviously talks to Xano. We've got caching enabled there. So essentially, there are 2 instances. One, which manages all the core operations for the application, and the second one is which processes the payments for the businesses, right? And that in turn is linked to logging services and different payment networks. So we're integrated with services like PayPal, Venmo, MasterCard, all of them, right? And eventually this data, so there's automations built into it to also send out communication to customers through emails, through SMS. And BigQuery is something that we are working on because of the amount of transactions that the system logs. The idea is to obviously gather all of that data and analyze it, and provide further insights to the business. This is another interesting use case that I would like to talk about, where we have integrated a headless Shopify system and built the website in Webflow with Whist to build a custom e-commerce platform, right? So when a business obviously scales, with Shopify, you need to customize things, obviously to provide a better, engaging, immersive experience for customers. You would typically need to incorporate animations and some level of customization, and that tends to become a challenge with Shopify. Webflow, which offers all of these features, provides a more engaging experience on the front end for users, right? And we were able to integrate this fairly quickly, right? Building out a custom e-commerce site on the front end. The next use case here is a holiday property recommendation. So this is for a business in India, which is similar to Airbnb. It provides luxury villas for rent across India. And traditionally, obviously customers used to come to the platform, they would search for properties, and that process would take time. They had to apply a bunch of filters and then get to the properties that they wanted to actually rent. What the business then did was they actually incorporated live agents, which would talk to customers and then, help them with recommendations. What we've done now is introduce an AI-based chatbot where, the front end has been developed in VWeb, and, using ChatGPT, the customers are actually able to query using natural language and, get recommendations of properties. So, it could be like, show me a property, luxury property, which also allows pets, right? Something as simple as that, and, you have, recommendations provided, instantly. And that has actually helped in driving the conversion rate by 20% for the business. This use case is for a property operations management platform. So this business actually provides a service for property management companies to manage their operations. Right? So there are use cases such as onboarding properties, onboarding cleaning companies, contractors, and also managing the customer check-in experience. Let me go to the next slide and talk about this. So here the application is integrated with a lot of third-party systems. So there's reservation management systems, there's third-party booking systems such as booking.com, and what we've used here is Xano on the back end. So all the third-party systems are integrated with Xano, and all the information is centralized. Right? That's where all of the information comes. And we have mobile applications and web applications for cleaners, for administrators to actually manage those entire operations. Right? We're using AWS S3 cloud storage. It's also integrated with Stripe because this is a SaaS product, and users can actually subscribe to this platform. So implementing this system has actually helped them to bring in a lot of efficiency into their business. So a team of 30 people, the operations staff, earlier used to manage, around 15 properties, and now, over a course of period, after incorporating the system, they are able to manage, close to 100 properties, right? So that's like 6 times the growth with the same team. So that's how, a no-code-based product has actually helped bring in efficiencies and, of course, help them, reduce cost. This use case is for an enterprise customer in the pharma industry. It's called the data management layer. Being an enterprise customer, they have multiple ERP systems and multiple systems on the customer side, right? So there's e-commerce, there's channel partner systems, there's CRMs, and the challenge that they were facing was, the ERP was actually being used to, query data for real-time transactions, and that's not what an ERP is meant to do. So what we did was introduce a data management layer, which is built in Xano, and using this, all the customer data is centralized in this middle layer. It fetches all the data from the ERP systems, transforms that data into a format, that is required by all the front-end systems, and provide all of that information real time. Right? So that has actually brought in efficiencies within the ERP solution, and it has also helped in for the other systems to get real-time customer information. Another important aspect that the data management layer also covers is the the callback. Whenever a customer data is updated on the front end, it again gets synced back with the ERP, so which was a challenge earlier, and the data management layer is now able to provide that. Right, so those were the use cases that I wanted to talk about today. You would like to open up the floor to any questions. think she's got the mic.
Thank you. I noticed you used BigQuery in one of your slides back there, connecting Xano to, I believe, Retool for an admin dashboard. What was
Right.
the use of BigQuery in that situation?
Right, so that's the payments application, the bulk payments application. So as the first stage of the implementation, what we've done is we've created an admin application in Retool. There's a client application in VWeb, and that's all connected to Xano, right? And what Xano does is, we are essentially processing payments to customers, right? So there's a lot of transactions that are being logged. What we plan to do is, keep a track of, the kind of customers that, the transactions are being processed to, what are the different payment methods that they're, using to, receive their payments in, because this platform also provides them a physical card, a digital card. It's integrated with wallets, so
What's the benefit of BigQuery over Stripe in this situation then?
big queries.
Yes, what's the benefit of BigQuery over Stripe in a payment solution in this situation?
So Stripe is essentially used for subscriptions, right? Since it is a SaaS service, there could be utility providers, who would be using this service, so they would subscribe to the platform using Stripe. But BigQuery is more to, log all of this information and then, use it to, provide data insights. So that's something that is, still being implemented.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Hi, Malay.
Hey.
Early on in your talk, you mentioned about insurance customer as well of yours.
Right.
Could you expand a little bit on the work that you have done for them?
Sure, absolutely. So this is different from general insurance, retail insurance. It's a customer that provides captive insurance. For those of you who are not familiar with what captive insurance is where the businesses are actually individual business or a group of businesses are insuring themselves, right, through a carrier. And so, for example, it could be businesses within the same domain, within the same industry, maybe 2, 3, 4 businesses who are insuring themselves. So that's the captive insurance service. And what we built for them is a platform to onboard new members, to capture their information, essentially, all the important metrics, right? A 5 years history of their business revenues, losses, premiums that they've paid. So all of that goes into the platform that is analyzed. So an initial assessment is done by the business. Feasibility report is generated, and then it is sent to the carrier for further validation and to suggest feasibility and also provide a premium. So that's what the platform intends to do. And eventually, since captive insurance is also about promoting community, right? So there's a social aspect there as well, where similar businesses can come together and obviously share insights about how things work.
I have one more question, if it
Sure.
is okay.
Sure.
Do you have examples of customers who were running their businesses on a particular, let's say, tech stack traditionally, serving their core business, and they somehow decided that enough of this traditional tech stack, let's move our business on to something else. And that something else was based on no code. Do you have such stories? And how long did this migration of their business from a traditional tech stack onto no code was?
Sure, absolutely. So I'll reference back to the data management layer, right? It's an enterprise customer, which obviously has built out, their tech stacks, with the traditional technologies. Migrating to a no-code platform obviously is going to take time, because there's a lot of processes involved, for the business to actually move away. But what we've done is, we've identified specific scenarios and use cases to actually introduce no code, right? And data management layer is a perfect example of us being able to do that, right? It's working seamlessly with the traditional systems, with their legacy systems, to manage a part of their operation and provide that efficiency. So gradually, you know, obviously the idea is to identify further use cases and scenarios where we can introduce no code to, you know, bring in those efficiencies.
Thank you.
All right. If no other questions, I think we wrap it up. Uh, thank you everyone for, you know, attending this session. And you know, if you have any ideas, if you want to talk about any of the use cases that were showcased here, feel free to come by to booth B15, you know, Unico Connect. We are exhibiting there, and we'll be happy to, you know, take up any questions, discuss any ideas, and obviously talk about use cases. Thank you.